Robert was working as a paramedic in a small town in Texas around the middle of the 1990s, he gave a story of a strange happening that he and his partner saw while they were on a call somewhere during the night. Robert was describing the event that occurred sometime during the night. A co-worker of Robert's was also there during the whole of the incident. They began their trip after getting a call about a woman who was experiencing chest troubles. He and his colleague put themselves into the ambulance and started their trek. They then proceeded to the location where the call had been made, which was the following step that they would take. According to Robert's recollections, "We took off code 3, which means using our emergency lights and sirens," he says. "We took off code 3. During the time period in issue, Robert is reported to have been quoted as saying that in order to find their way to the faraway site, they depended on maps and mailbox numbers as their major method of navigation since there was no GPS available at the time. According to Robert, the address we were going to was a very rural one, and he offers a lengthy justification for this statement. So there was no street lights, and it was a very dark night, so it was very difficult to read the mailboxes. During the time that they were looking for the appropriate driveway, Robert claims that he switched off the sirens. During this moment, they were looking for the driveway to find somewhere. The moment they had proven beyond a reasonable doubt that they had located it, they proceeded to drive in, only to find out that their assumption had been incorrect all along. He said, "So we turned off the emergency lights as we backed up to the road and went up the correct driveway," which is in agreement with his line of thinking. When the paramedics arrived at the scene, they immediately remembered that precisely 1 month before, they had gone to the same apartment in order to provide medical aid to a male patient who was experiencing cardiac arrest. This was the reason for their visit. In typical medical black humor fashion, we mentioned to each other that this was probably the wife who was now having a heart attack and was now going to go join her husband. They quickly started giving medical assistance to the lady as soon as they came out of the ambulance with their possessions in tow. Thankfully, the woman was discovered to be in perfect condition after receiving medical attention. Robert asserts that he sent his colleague to get the stretcher from the ambulance in order to facilitate the transport of the patient to the hospital for examination. Consequently, they will be able to convey her to the location in question. When he returned, he had this strange questioning look on his face, Robert said, in reaction to how he saw the situation. It was completely out of character. During the process of transporting the patient to the emergency vehicle, Robert noticed that the ambulance had nearly every light it was equipped with turned on. This was a significant observation. After this observation, the patient was transported to the vehicle in order to get treatment. Strobe lights, floodlights, some interior lights, everything on. Robert questioned his companion about the reason for the activation of all the lights after the patient was transported to the medical facility. This was done so that Robert could have a better understanding of the issue. But it was not the case at all. As a result of going to the incorrect location, he brought to Robert's attention the fact that they had blocked all of them. In point of fact, he informed Robert about this matter throughout the conversation. Neither one of us can remember switching on the floodlights, strobe lights, or emergency lights when we arrived at the house. These lights were not turned on at any point during our arrival. Not a single one of us can possibly recall ever having done it. As a result of the fact that we had already arrived at our destination, there was no legitimate need for us to carry out this activity. In the end, we wrote it off as her dead husband, letting her know that he was still there.